Hey guys, Darren Carr here, coach of Wise Ocean Pods, and welcome back to another episode of our preview series. On today's episode, we will be previewing round 6, and we'll be deep diving into the most popular trade in and trade out targets for the week, and also be looking at my trade targets, and the captains for this week. So let's get into it. Now, I just want to start this video off by saying this is the second time I've recorded this video. After the first time, it didn't capture my audio for some reason. My recording software messed up and didn't want to capture my microphone. So that's, if I sound a bit pissed off, I probably am, because I don't really want to be doing this again. But we'll just hopefully make this one a quicker video for you guys, considering it is now Thursday night. So all right, so we'll start with the main trade out targets real quick. And so, okay, Kobe McKercher, break even of 87. He's perfect to move on now. Unfortunately, scored the 2 last round and got injured, but he is more than likely going to play this week. He has been cleared from all medical, so he's more likely will play, but that is not good considering he probably will bleed a lot of cash. Just looking at that, he scores a 65, which if he plays that midfield role could be even less, and could start burning some cash, which is not what you want. So might as well sell him now while he's at his top price, and optimize that cash to go to that top line guy if you can. Moving on to Matty Crouch, I think it's a bit of a tossing turning one for me. It's very situational to your team, so a lot of people this week would only be fielding 21 because most people would have Max Gawn as their only buy player. So if that is the situation where you only have one, or you even have 0, you don't have a Gawn at all, there is a way that I'd recommend possibly even holding him, just because you can still upgrade around him. And it's not like he's hurting you as such if you do hold him. You can hide behind the best 18, that common phrase that everyone says these days. But it's one of those things. I don't think his run's too terrible when it comes to, he'll be back playing against North next week. That's a good matchup. He loves contested games, so probably, these Port Adelaide and Brisbane games could even benefit him a little bit. Then he's got a good stretch of 4 games, which is really beneficial to midfielders. So there is a world where I would be holding him, but at the same time, it's very situational to your team. At the end of the day, he's done his job. He's made you over 100k. His break even's now at 101 after having a poorer score last week. He did have a little bit of a shuffle in terms of his role on the weekend, where he only had 55% CPAs, similar to what he had last week, but they're just Port Adelaide are just looking to bring in a few extra guys just to give them a bit of speed. So Saliga looks like he's going to be heavily featured in there now, and you're possibly going to have Rankin in there a bit more than what has been shown, but I do probably expect that to drop down to 40 to 50%. So it's definitely an unusual mix that they're going to have, and probably really limits the ceiling of like a Dawson, obviously Crouch and Laird. So don't know how much they're going to be owned, but saying that, if you don't like the change, then obviously move him on. But again, if you can make upgrades around him, then I would also recommend that. Massimo is a great trade out this week, similar to McKercher, as in his just price is now going to start going down, so Miles will jump off and use that 590k there and get up to that guy you want. I don't think you need a huge amount of cash to be able to make a decent upgrade, so it's a great time. He just hasn't looked good. He's been stuck on the wing, hasn't been doing the 90s that he should have shown early on in the season, so hasn't gone over 70 in the last 3, so not looking good, and was a bit of a trap to start the year, as we commonly get. So perfect time to move off of him. There's plenty of downgrade options at the moment. Blake Howes features quite highly in my main trade out targets because of the buy, similar to Windsor and Seth Campbell, all on the buy. So, and they're pretty close to maxing out in price. So it's perfect time to move them on. They're not going to make any cash this week, so where you can move these guys on and grab that extra price rise, rather than holding them and trading out someone else that could be making a little bit of money as well, you possibly could, move them on and get that cash going, because it's not like they're going to make a huge amount more from there. Although Howes did Steppy get scoring up again now that Salem has been out, so he's not the worst hold, but I can also would start to move him on if you can, because he's not going to do a whole lot for now. Joe Clark, very similar. Now he's going to start burning cash with a break even of 50 after scoring that 2 on the weekend after starting a sub. So, definitely time to move him on. And I know a lot of people are thinking of doing a double downgrade this week. So, here's the perfect candidate along with McKercher. So, if you're going to Clark and McKercher down to a Graham and a Garcia, then that's a great move and gets the cash rising quite quickly. Caleb Windsor I just spoke about. Yep, he's on the buy. His break even's quite high. He's probably my number one to move out over those buy players. So, think about that one. Riley Sanders, I know a few people are trading him out because of the sub risk. I personally don't think he'll be sub this week. I think he'll actually play the full game with Liberatore out, and hopefully he can put up a very decent score for us. Hopefully he can break into those 80s again. And I'm looking to put him on my field and not loop him in, just because I think it's quite a good matchup, and I think he'll go well and respond to the sub that he had last week. Salem needs to go after that injury. He's out for 4 to 6, so get him going. This one pisses me off, why people are trading him out, and this is why I was saying to Bales, Jake, and Nathan on Wednesday night at the DT Live show that I don't think the rankings have really sorted themselves out just yet. I think there still are a lot of top line coaches that are sideways trading premios. There's no reason to be trading out a max score, and he's clearly the R1, but to see that over 2k of coaches are doing it is staggering and is really concerning. So if you're still at 5 or 10k or even 20k, you're not that far behind. I think we've got to wait for at least probably another 4 or 5 weeks before these players start to flush out, and the people that have been upgrading your team throughout the buys will start to rise to the top. So hate this move. I don't know why people would be doing it. It's the simplest hold that you can do. Just hold him for the year. Zane Desma is another one that can be traded out, although he's probably not on the top of my list considering he does play Hawthorn and he probably can kick a few goals, and we've seen Hawthorn and give up quite a few points to these guys that spread and get marks on the outside but also go up forward and kick goals, like a Dempsey sort of situation. So which he has shown that sort of capacity with 11 marks at one stage, so he could be one that you could hold on to. He probably won't make any cash, but he's not the most urgent player to be traded out, is all I'm trying to say. I think he could hit that break even quite easily, so you could probably hold him for another week just on the bench. Probably wouldn't field him, but yeah, on the bench. James Jordan, those very few last coaches that are trading him out now. Time to go. We spoke about him plenty of times. I will say it's probably not, if you don't want to trade him out or you say you got other priorities, I don't think he's the most urgent, given that his break even isn't super high, and I think he could quite easily hit that because that's pretty much what he averaged, right? So he could hit that quite easily, and even if he doesn't, he probably gets a 60 and loses 5k, so it's not going to hurt you too much if you hold on to him. Seth Campbell, like I said, with the buy rookies, can probably go as well. Probably the last one on that list, given his break even's only 35, so he could probably make a few more dollars. Not a huge amount, but can hopefully, if he can, kickstart his cash generation a little bit more. But no, he's got a couple harder matchups in the coming weeks, so the ball may not even get down to his end, unfortunately. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm personally holding him this week just because I've got other priorities, but yeah, great move to move him on. Bontempelli, I'm not moving him on, and I don't recommend anyone else to. I know that 53 was extremely disappointing last week, but it's very unlikely, very, very unlikely that he's ever going to do that again this year. We haven't seen a score from him like that since, 2017 or something around that mark. So, yeah, it's not going to happen again, and I'd expect a pretty big fight back this week. And he does have an awesome run. Obviously, Saints this week, Hawth, Richmond, Pies. Yeah, these matchups really good, and his run's really juicy. So, I'm backing him in. I expect him to respond. He will improve as the season goes on. Alex Sexton needs to go. I think that's enough said. He's not playing, so it's as simple as that. Might as well use the cash on his head. He's 47k. That's a pretty decent upgrade you could get, or do a double downgrade. He's a red dot, so move him on. Nat Fife is a good one that could move on as well. Has now matched pretty much his break even, so 66. He's averaging 70. He's not going to make a huge amount of cash from here unless he can kickstart his cash generation this week against the Eagles, which I'm holding him for, hoping he can have a bigger score. There is a bit of a risk that he could be subbed in this game if the Freo get, well in front, but hopefully, because it's the derby, he sticks it out and plays the full game. He did kick up his tackles last week, which was pleasant to see. So hopefully, he can do that, repeat that again this week, and get a few more disposals and get a decent score. Hopefully, he can push an 80. I'm hoping. Does have a decent run coming up as well, but I don't know how long you're looking to hold him. Personally, I'm probably looking at trading him next week if I can to get him up to a bigger primo. So that's my plans there. Jack Viney needs to go as well. He's been averaging 75 over the last four weeks, so has been really disappointing. Unfortunate that I think a lot of coaches would have jumped on him, given that Oliver was sort of not in the team but was sort of on the outer, and he could have gone well, and he did start the season really well with 123, and just has declined since then. I think with just the inclusion of Oliver in the team, and isn't getting around it as much. Plus Melbourne aren't looking as good as what they have been in the past, so yeah, definitely needs to go. Losing a lot of cash, lost over 100k, so lost 97k. So you can use that money on his head to either sideways trade him to a decent primo or even downgrade him. Probably not 800k. There's probably no one that downgrade to, but definitely could jump up to a steal or one of those top line guys for sure. Toby Pink, red dot, needs to move. Perfect trade if you're looking to sort of do a rookie fix-up. So if you want to start your cash generation a little bit more, I think that's a great option. Zach Fisher, I'm not a fan of this one. I think I've said this multiple times over the last couple of weeks. People are still trading him out, which is crazy to me. He's averaging 78, which is what I thought would be is pretty good in the forward line. Like, it's not hurting you. He's making a bit of coin now. Like, it's not massive, but I think of all weeks, this is the week not to trade him out, given that Sheasel's going to get a tag. So hopefully he gets more of the pill, because it's not going to go to Sheasel. So hopefully it goes through him, right? So I think he could pop a big score this week. So I wouldn't be trading him out at all. And even if Sheasel wasn't getting tagged, I think he's going well enough that he can sit in your forward line and just dwindle away and put those decent scores up. He can be a hold for a long, long time until luxury season. So that's just my thinking. He's not hurting me. He's doing enough scores. He's pretty much averaging 80 over the last bloody month. It's pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Jordan Dawson's an interesting one, given that there is a bit of a concern that he's moved out of the midfield a little bit. Obviously played quite heavily forward on the weekend, but I don't think that's going to continue too heavily. I think he's going to be that midfielder, because that's just his primary role. Even listening to what Lairdy said in the DT Live video, the DT Live show, he pretty much said that Dawson's probably number 2, with Saligo and Rankin as sort of those third and fourth, where sort of leaves Lairdy out of the job a little bit. playing a bit more forward, so it'd be interesting to see how it turns out. But I'd definitely be holding Dawson this week, given that Crouch has got the suspension. So that only means good things for Dawson, and he's actually got a really good matchup. So it's not the week to be trading him out for sure. I know he's going to lose a bit of coin, but I think he can put up a really decent score for you and even be a captain option this week. I think that's all we'll really talk about for the trade out targets, because I don't think any of these guys are sort of super highly relevant, besides maybe Luke Jackson. Obviously, Sean Darcy comes back this week, but he is playing West Coast, so I think it's definitely a hold for this week and watch and see how it sort of eventuates. Sean Darcy, is going to be heavily managed, I would say, so, Jackson could still put up a ton, given that he could kick a few goals and have, 20 disposals, given the, what's his name, Williams ruck, so, yeah. I think it's definitely a wait and see, but definitely be ready to trade him next week if, there's definitely a possibility that he only puts up a 60 or a 70 where, he's playing a lot forward, he's not kicking as many goals as what you sort of expected, so he's going to drop in coin. So be ready to trade him next week, I would say. Put him in your plans. Alright, let's move on to my main trade-in targets. You can already see what I'm sort of doing this week. So, Will Graham is a smash pick. You have to get him in. It's pretty obvious, and I don't like to use the term must-have as such, but he's one of the easiest picks you're going to get, similar to Sam Closey. Huge break even. Now has 2 great scores in his pricing cycle, so he's just going to continue to go up, even if he does have a few lower scores in the coming weeks, but he just looks really good. The role is awesome in that midfield for the Suns. I think he's 4th in line, obviously, but still 43% is great. You've got to take that. Yeah. Where was that? There we are. Yeah, definitely pick him up. And just with another thing with these 2 Gold Coast Sun boys, if you don't have either of them, you gotta get both. It's as simple as that. Do some double downgrades or fix up a couple rookies and get them both in, because that's a whole lot of cash you're missing out on, and it could be season defining. Also, one other thing I wanted to say about this whole double downgrading thing, because I want to put a line to it, right? So if you've identified in your team that your cash generation is maybe lacking, so let's just say, the top line guys are at like 20.5 mil now. So if you say you're under a mil of that 20.5, so you're 19.5 mil, then I'd highly recommend that you need to get some cash generation going in your team, because you're now a million behind. That's a whole primo pretty much that you're missing out on. So you really need to catch that up as quickly as possible, because Primo's at least 50 points extra on top of a rookie as such. So you need to prioritize cash generation. So if you've identified that that's your weakness in your team, then I'd absolutely be prioritizing a double downgrade. But anyways, we'll move on to Sam Walsh. I think he's a good pick. Obviously, he came back from injury last week, so there's a bit of concern there that he could be managed a little bit. Did have a lower time on ground this week. I think he's normally like a mid-80s sort of guy, so bit of management there. Does have a tough matchup this week, but has a really low break-even, and it presents a lot of value. So, still crazy to think he's 23. Great trade-in, but I don't think the matchups is as good as sort of what we expect in the coming weeks. Obviously, has the Cats and Pies in the next 3, which is really good, but then comes up against sort of 4 tougher matchups following that. So it's not probably the smash pick that I would like, but I still think it's still a great trading target, and because he presents so much value, it's a good trade-in target no matter what, because I can't see him going at this price. He should probably push closer to 105, if not 110. And we've seen that he's come back into the midfield a lot more this season, or off the one game anyway. And we saw that in the back end of last year in the finals series where he went ballistic. So if he's going to continue that, then it really spells some good results for him, I reckon. And really boosts his scoring potential. It's just my only concern is what's Chera going to do once he comes back. Does that push out a Hewitt a little bit more, or does that Chera go on the wing a little bit more? You got Carroll here as well. Does he just get pushed out of midfield completely? Kennedy's around the mark as well. So there's so many different possibilities. They've got too many midfielders, but Sam Walsh should be the mainstay alongside Paddy Cripps. I think that's pretty straightforward in my opinion. But have to wait and see. But if you're jumping on now, great. It's a good trade in. He's going to make some coin, and I think he's going to put up some decent scores over the next couple weeks. Garcia is a great trade-in target as a rookie downgrade as well. Obviously, 222k, so really cheap. And showed he has the scoring potential, scoring the 53 in the 34% time on ground. Really impressive. 7 tackles. He just loves a cuddle, doesn't he? So you wouldn't think so for being quite a smaller bloke, but I am a little bit concerned in terms of his job security, just given he's 18. Started as a sub, so I don't know if he'll break the sub vest just yet. So I'm watching this week and waiting until next week to pick him up if he does play a full game. Even if he does, score 100, then I can pick him up for under 300k still. So I'm more than happy to wait for him. But yeah, if you're doing a double downgrade, he's probably my preference behind the two Suns boys. Oops, what did I do there? Trading targets. There we go. Jury is another downgrade target. Probably not as bullish on him as in, he's probably on the bottom of the list compared to the rest of them. Just given his scoring history, he has shown a history of very low scores of, I think it was even a sub 10 score. So yes, it is a bit of concern, but there's no saying that he could have just gotten better and a bit more fantasy friendly. Obviously, he had a really good game on the weekend, scored 101, had those 17 touches and 11 marks. So definitely not going to get 11 marks every day of the week, but he did play a sort of a high half forward, small pocket role. So he really got the outside ball, and they just were willing for him to catch to mark it all the time. So yeah, I don't think that's going to continue. So yeah, I love that he's going to make a bit of coin really quickly because he obviously has a great break even, but it's not going to be sustainable. Any chance he could put up a bad score and then be dropped from the team next week, because they do have a fair few guys coming back in, I would say. Let's have a quick look at North Melbourne's dingo. So you got Bergman, who possibly could come in and plays more of a backman, I believe. So probably not, the similar role, but is still a spot that someone has to take. You got Schultz and you got Zerha, who are pretty much guaranteed in that best 22, you would think. So where does that leave Jury? So we'll have to wait and see for team announcements, which is only in about an hour's time. So we'll know pretty shortly. But yeah, definitely probably not on my trade-in targets for this week anyways. If he puts up another great score next week and he puts 200s together, then absolutely jump on him, because those two great scores in his price range, in his price cycle, it's only got to help bolster his cash, even if he has a bad game. So we already spoke about Closey. Just get him in, pretty straightforward. Sam Flanders is still a great trade-in target for me, I think. Obviously, a lot of people grabbed him last week, but has that juicy half-back row. So I can't speak anymore. Been speaking too long. Has that half-back role, so it's really good. Low break-even, so he's going to make a bit of money. Does have a tougher matchup this week in Swans, but I still think he'll put up a respectable score. Yeah, he's going to be top 2 forward, so it's just a lock and load if you don't have him, because he is still cheap. Biggie is probably 3rd or 4th on my list in terms of rookie downgrades, so probably be Closey, Graham, Garcia, and then Biggie is probably that one just below those guys. Just given that I think his scoring potential is a bit more consistent because his role back there is a bit more consistent at the moment. Definitely going to be that sort of key defender. They didn't mind using him as sort of transition, and obviously there's a lot of points in that North back line, so he could easily jump close to 150k in the next 2-3 weeks, which is all he needs until sort of Dawson gets back in 3 weeks time. So 3 weeks in this price cycle could easily jump up over 150k, and that's all you sort of need from a guy like this. But yeah, I probably fourth on my list if you're looking for a downgrade option. Isaac Heaney is an interesting one. Obviously, I had a few conversations with a lot of you guys at the DT live, with a fair few of you were looking to trade him in. I am in the camp that we don't trade him in. If you don't have him, don't trade him in, because there's so much uncertainty what's going to happen with his role when, the likes of Taylor Adams obviously returned last week, well, the week prior, but played a lot forward because they're managing him into the game. You got Parker, who's meant to return next week. Obviously was meant to this week, but didn't happen. He's not fit. So next week, you got Sheldrick, who should be coming in this week as well, who could be the sub, but just given the uncertainty in his role in the coming fortnight, let's say, I would be watching and waiting, and you're also paying top dollar for it. So there's plenty of other cheaper guys that are 100, if not 70k cheaper, that you could jump on, who have safer roles and are going to be around that mark as well. What else was I going to say? I understand he's been going at such a good rate. Doesn't have a hugely beneficial run in terms of midfielders. Has these tougher ones. Obviously has Hawthorn, which is the easier matchup. Even this week isn't easy at all. So, yeah, I personally wouldn't be trading him in. I'd be trading to someone else in that forward line and securing it another way, and just watching and seeing what's going to happen with Isaac Heaney, because you've gone so long without him so far. You're missing all the benefit. You're pretty much going to be preying on his downfall when, the likes of the other guys come back in and he gets pushed out, and then he puts up a 70, and then we're all panicking and trading him out. You don't have him. You're getting one step ahead of the competition by being able to trade someone else and continue to improve a team, whereas we'll be sideways trading this guy. So that's just something to consider. Jack Steele is a great option still, under $1 million, so I think he's still plenty of value. If you can get to him, get on to him. Yeah, awesome trade in, and has been a great pick to start the year. I think I had a question on my other video earlier this week that if I had the coin to get any player in the competition, my answer pretty much was I would get Jack Steele. So that shows you just, if I could move everything in my team, I'd get Jack Steele in urgently, because I don't think he's going to drop below $1 million at any other stage in this season, because he's just going that well and he's super consistent. Roll Marshall is another great trade-in target. I obviously did it last week and it really paid off. I think he's going to continue that sort of scoring rate over the next little bit for sure. He's got English this week. He's got Soldo next week. He's got Xeri the week after. So that's 3 really good matchups for him where he can score quite heavily. And then probably has a couple tougher ones. So have to wait and see. But I think if you're moving on from a Grundy, I think it's a great option. I would not be moving from a Gorn to him. Absolutely. And I don't think I would be moving Cherry on just yet either. So yeah, definitely be definitely a good trade-in target. But those guys you definitely hold. Elliot Yeo, my understanding, or my belief is that from the start of the season, if you don't start him, you don't pick him up, because there's every chance you trade him in and he gets injured, and you're not giving yourself that, you're not backing yourself why you didn't pick him in the first place. I understand he's been going really well and he looks fit and he's made nearly 150k, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be that top 6 defender. He's averaging 95 now, but it's not always going to be like that, I don't think. I think he's more closely going to average to 90, and I think he's already priced at, I think 85, I think. I should put the numbers in, but yeah. Let me quickly do that. Come on. Yeah, it's priced at 85, so he could be 5 to 10 points unders, but I don't think it's going to be a massive game changer to trade him in, personally. Earl Goulden, so I know Bales is looking to trade in Goulden. He's sort of split between Walsh and Goulden. I've said that I think Goulden's probably the better option because I think he's got a higher ceiling and is probably a safer pick in terms of, his time on ground is elite. We know how thirsty he is for the ball. I think he's about to turn it on now and have those really high ceiling games. It's just, with a few of those inclusions, it's probably only helps him a little bit more to give him a bit more freedom rather than being a bit more in those stoppages, and that's just not sort of his game. He likes to use his running power to break away from the stoppage and get those marks on the outside and move the ball along nicely. So, yeah, I think he's a great trading target, and he's definitely bottomed out in price now. He's just going to go up, so, yeah, he's a great trading target if you're grabbing him. It's good to see. What? 1.4k coaches doing it. Moving on to Brad Hill. I absolutely hate this pick. I don't. Yeah, no. I've just seen it too many times in the last couple of years where he's just had this sort of massive score, a flash in the pan, and people jump on. He's too expensive for me. I get he has forward status, and yeah, he's averaging 90. I don't think he averages 90 for the year. He's priced at 80. And I think that's sort of what he is going to score. He's going to average for the year. So, I don't think he has too much upside realistically. Yes, that break even looks nice, and he may make a little bit of coin in the next, week or two. But there's every chance that he comes out next week and only has the 4 marks and low teens disposals, which he has shown, and then all that cash generation is gone. So, I definitely wouldn't be doing it, but each their own. Dane Zorko is my trade-in target for this week. I would have loved to get the Flanders, but I was missing 4k, so I couldn't do it, unfortunately. I still think Zorko is a good trade-in option. Obviously, sort of top 4 in the forward line, if not top 3. I probably have it Heaney, Flanders, Power, and then Zorko, just with the uncertainty of Zorko's role a little bit. So, but yeah, I think he's going to score quite well. He's got the Cats this week, and yeah, don't think his run's too bad given everything. And I think he's got that back line, half back row secure, so he should stay there. Sheasel, I probably personally wouldn't be trading him in this week, given that he's going to get the fin tag. So this of all weeks, this is not the week to trade him in. He's could put up a mid-70s score, and you're paying top dollar for it, so you're really going to be buying high, trading him in for a pretty bad score, or like a mediocre score from what you sort of expect from a Sheasel, then his price is going to go down. I know he's a hold for the year, but you can probably pick him up in, say, 2-3 weeks' time when you can think that he's going to have a low score and you pick him up cheaper. So I'd personally be waiting on that one. Tom Powell is still a great trade-in target, scoring as a top 4 forward. Still quite cheap, low break-even, good matchup. It's a smash play, I think. You can't really go wrong. You really want this trade-in rewards when you're trading in, guys. I love it. I hate when my trading targets goes bad on the first week. It's just, a bit of a pet peeve, I guess. Only a couple more here, I'll say. So, trading in Tristan Cherry is a bit of an interesting play for me. I personally wouldn't be doing it because, like I've said in the past, he's not a hold for the year. You're going to have to trade him to those top line guys because there is probably say 10 to 15 points gap between those real two top guys in English, in Gawn and Marshall, and then Xeri, who's sort of that third ruckman at the moment. So wouldn't be trading him in. I know a lot of people are probably jumping off a Gawn or a Grundy, but I don't think that's the way to go, because he's not going to make a huge amount more cash, given, you know, his... What is he priced at? Oh, pretty much 87. Yeah, 80. He's priced at 87. Does he go 100? It's probably likely. So he's got 13 points of upside. So what does that get him up to? Let's just say averages 100, gets him up to 900k. So maybe 120k more. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to trade that later on anyway. So, but at the end of the day, I still, yeah, it's tough. It's tough. If you don't have the cash for Marshall, then I can support it, but I'd be going to the top line. Nick Dacos is another great trade in targets. I know his break-even is a little bit high, but these are the types of moves that really get you one step ahead of the competition, because all preseason, everyone talked about, okay, round 7, after Nick Dacos' bye, get him in, because he starts to go on a pretty good run, and he should be pretty much bottom dollar, because, you know, he's had, you know, quite a few tags in those opening rounds. So more than likely everyone will be looking to trade him in next week. So if you trade him in this week and hopefully he has a good score, then you're one step ahead of the competition, because you can then get the next guy, right, that pops this week. So it is a really good option to do that, and I think that could really pay out for you. He's not going to get too much cheaper in the end of the day. Noah Anderson is a really good trade-in target as well. Obviously had that massive score on the weekend against Hawthorn, and his run is really juicy, and he could probably continue a lot of these scores like that. You're talking West Coast, talking North, talking Cats, talking Essendon, you're talking St Kilda. So only really 3 tough matchups of the next 8. So that's a really good run for him until mid-season bye. Yeah, he looks like the main midfield guy in there, and he could go really, really strongly and could really be a good captain option for you. So if you have the cash for him, then I'd absolutely support that. Lockie Whitfield, people still trading in him. It's a confusing one for me, because we've seen what Sheasel was able to do. Was it Sheasel? Am I getting this wrong? No, it wasn't. Never mind. Yeah, Lockie Whitfield, good trade in. He's being that sort of top 3 defender at the moment. He's been really strong, to my surprise, but he is pricey, is all I'm saying. You can probably get to a Wangani Malera, who's a bit cheaper. Who else is there? I'm trying to think now, off the top of my head. Obviously not Sheasel. Hayden Young is around that price as well. If you think he's going to be around that top 6, I think he is, and he's been averaging there. Obviously a Nick Martin, if you go Nick Martin instead. I think most people have him. But yeah, if you don't have Whitfield and you're trading him in, then I definitely support that. He's going to be around that mark. Xavier Dersma is an interesting pick for me. Probably mid-table in terms of these like mid-price sort of guys that you may not have the cash to get up to that top line guy, and you're just looking for a bit of a bit of cash generation, but also have the scoring output over the next maybe 3 to 4 weeks until you can jump off him and get to that next guy. But has put up some really decent scores over the last 3 weeks, averaging well over 100. So, but what is he priced at? Let's just say it's about 75. So, what do we actually think he averages? Does he average this 85 that we're talking here? Probably is a bit high for me. I'd say maybe closer to 80. So that's only really 5 points unders. But what's his lineup like? 2 easy ones. in terms of a midfield, maybe inside mid. I'm not sure too much about. Sorry, where am I? A wingman. Let's have a quick look. Essendon. So you got Adelaide this week, which is a bit tougher, but then it has like a pretty decent run after that. So it's a play. I think he will make some decent coin over the next couple of weeks if he can keep putting up some decent scores. It's just that midfielder status is what concerns me. I personally can't bring in a midfielder this week, just given my structure, being a bit more restrictive. But yeah, if you got an open spot, I probably wouldn't be taking a rookie off the line for him in terms of you got three good scoring rookies in there. So, but it's definitely a play for sure. Alrighty, just a couple more here. So Brody Grundy is a good trade. Wait, is it trade in target? Am I reading that right? Yeah, people are trading him in. That is not sitting well with me. I don't believe that is good trading target. He has not looked good to the eye and really doesn't present too much of value in terms of, he is priced at probably like 83, 84. So, he's only averaging 91, so he's not going to be a huge amount of points upside, and does have a couple tougher matchups, in the coming weeks. So it could definitely be a lower score for him, and he just hasn't looked good in my eyes. Maybe off the bye he does do well, and there's every chance now that I've traded him out he does go extremely well, but personally I wouldn't be trading him in. And I don't know, who would you be moving off? Maybe you're moving off a Jackson to him, but that's a bit sideways. If you're jumping off a Gorn, I wouldn't be downgrading. Like I said, I'll be upgrading. So definitely not sort of my cup of tea for sure. People trading in Thomas, I personally would not be. He is a roller coaster and a half, going 100, 15, 85, 81. Sorry. So I wouldn't be paying this much money for a guy like that. That could drop you a 10 quite easily this week. So there's other cheaper options like a Garcia or even a Jury if you want to go that way, or a Biggie, So I'd personally be going that way if you can. Stay away from Thomas. Comden, if you're he's still a good option. I think he made that 55k last week, put up a 69, so not terrible. Comes up against Hawks this week, so it could put up another decent score if the Hawks can get it in his back line. Have to wait and see. But it's still really cheap if you're looking for that mid-price guy who can just put some, decent scores on your field and make you some cash generation. So I would definitely support that as well. And finally, I'll just talk about Zach Merritt. He is also a great trading target, even though he is so expensive. We just know what he can do. Like, he's been one of the best players to start this year so far. And he's obviously a great captain option, and his run is sort of elite coming up. Two easy ones there. Not too easy ones there. It's just really good, even in the back end of the year. 2 after that. 3, sorry. Yeah, it's just a hold for the year. So I really like Zach Merritt's run, and you can see what I'm sort of looking at this week. Alrighty, so that's all the trade in and trade out targets. So just to quickly run through a summary. So my main trade out targets would be number 1, McKercher. Obviously, losing a lot of cash, needs to go, and you can get him up to that sort of next player or double downgrade, whichever way you're going. Massimo, number 2. He's very similar. Going to bleed coin now, given his break even. Needs to go. Hasn't been scoring well. Number 3, I've gone all of the by-player rookies. So you're talking Windsor, you're talking Howes, you're talking Campbell. So those 3, if you have them in your team, then all 3 of them can go if you can get that to your next upgrade or double downgrade. Because they're not making you any coin this week, and they probably won't make you much coin next week either. So yeah, time to move them on. Number 4, I had Jai Clark, obviously high break even. He's not going to hit that, so he's going to lose coin this week. Fingers crossed if he could be even dropped this week, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. And number 5, I threw in Matty Crouch in there just because I still think it's a play to move him on and upgrade him to that top line guy, because at the end of the day, if I don't think he's going to be a hold for the year, you're going to have to trade him at some stage. So yeah, I've thrown him in there. He's missing this week. If you want to maximize and be aggressive, then it's a great trade. And all the trade in targets, sorry, my main trade in targets. So I'll split this into sort of primos and then mid prices, because I know a lot of people are looking at mid prices this week. So my number one main primo to trade in would still be Sam Flanders. I think he's still presents a lot of value and is definitely going to go above his price. Has a juicy role, so it's a 140 in the waiting for him, I would say. He just accumulates back there, and he works very hard for the ball. So he's definitely a lock in his top two mid forward. So it's a great pick. I've got number 2 at Jack Steele. Just given that this is the last time he is going to be under $1 million, and his run is awesome, and he's super consistent. He has the role. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get him after this week. So if you can, I'd suggest that. So going a Matty Crouch to a Steele, I definitely support that sort of move. Number 3, I had Sam Walsh, just because of the value. And it's just the injury concern that's probably knocked him down a few pegs here, given that he has had a lot of complaints with that back over the last 12 months. So every chance that could flare up again, and then he's out for another extended period of time. So I want to see it probably for another week at least, and then probably make a decision from there. But I still think go that week early, get him now. His price is right, his break even's correct, and yeah, he could go ballistic with a roll. Number 4, I had Anderson, just given his where was he? His run. I think he could go big in the next sort of 2 months, even to his mid-season buy. So I think that's a great trade-in target, and I don't think many people are going to get on him, and it is a great unique. And number 5, I had Marshall, just given his run over the next three weeks, and he's just a hold for the year. Yeah, he's a great trade-in target for those that are looking to trade out a Grundy. All right, then moving on to these sort of mid-priced primos, you want to say, or mid-priced players that you're looking at. So, number 1, I had Lukosius. I don't even know Lukosius in here. So, Jack Lukosius. I just think with his scoring is going to be quite consistent, given that his role is more locked down compared to these other guys that I'll talk about. He's been flicked back. We've seen him in the past go into the defensive line. He's averaging 85 there, so you got to be happy with that. Yeah, I think his price is right. His break even's going down more and more, so he's making a bit of coin now. So I think he's a great pickup this week. Number 2, I had Isaac Rankin. Obviously, Crows won, and they sort of like him in that midfield group, so he's going to continue to feature quite heavily in that midfield. And yeah, that obviously bumps up his average quite easily, just getting around the ball a bit more, being a bit more ferocious, getting a few more tackles, and even getting amongst the transition ball, and obviously can sneak forward and kick a few goals. So yeah, I think that's a great option. And obviously looking at his run, for forwards, these two are great. For midfielders, these two are great. Could probably kick a few goals in this game. A couple tougher ones here, but then goes on a big stretch of runs here. So I really like that. And yeah, could really be what you're looking for in the forward line as in terms of a mid-price pick. But I think Lukosius just tipped him a little bit, just given that there's like a 50k price difference, and the role was a bit more secure for a Lukosius as such. The third player for the mid prices was Xavier Dersma. It's just a break even, which is enticing. Obviously, very low. He's going to make a bit of coin over the next sort of 3-4 weeks, and that's probably all you're looking to hold him for. Probably put up some decent scores, and it's the midfield that really I'm not a huge fan of. So he's probably third. Caldwell is number 4. Just given he is a bit more expensive than the other guys, break even still quite high, and it's very short term in my opinion, given that we're talking Setterfield should be back next week. Let's have a look here. 1 to 2 weeks. So at most, it's probably 2 weeks. And then you got Perkins to follow pretty shortly after at 2 to 3. So he'll be completely pushed out of that midfield by then. So, yeah, it's a very short-term play. So not one I usually like to do. But at the end of the day, he's got a really good matchup for the next 2 to 3. So could be a play, but I'm personally staying away. And number 5, I threw in Taylor Adams. I don't know if he'd be on this list because not many people are looking at him. Oh, there he is. Not too far. 187 coaches are bringing him in. I threw him in there because he is still quite cheap, and there has been a fair bit of talk that he is going to be around that top 6 mark if he can stay fit. We saw last week that he obviously got heavily managed, 59% time, but scored the 79 in that time, which is quite impressive. Did play a bit more forward than what we have seen in the past. I think that's just management. They sort of threw him a bit more forward than what is going to be normal. I think he's going to be easily a 50 to 60 or 70% sort of midfielder when he is fit. So here's a huge watch for me this week, but this could be a real big winning play. If you jump on early, then you are one step ahead of the competition. So definitely big eyes on him, and if you're keen, then I'd definitely recommend it. But we'll move on to the main rookie trade-in targets this week, and can I do this? Let's go prices. I wish I could make my own custom prices. That would be good. You know, that 200 to 400k bracket would just be beautiful, I think. I can't select both, can I? No. So let's just go here. So number 1, I have Closey. If you don't have him, you need to get him in ASAP. He's probably the number 1 rookie to grab. Number 2 is Graham. Pretty self-explanatory. Number 3, I had Garcia, so I think he is a good option. Just obviously watch for teams if he is named on. He's not named the sub, so obviously he's in the team, but it's just whether he is on the bench or not, starting a sub. So avoid if he's sub. If he's on the field, then absolutely grab him. He could be another great rookie that can score quite consistently for us. And did he have a few CBAs? I heard he had some midfield numbers. Yeah, 37% in that very, very small amount of time. So, yeah, that's really promising for him. Great trading target. And then I've got Biggie as the 4th. Like I said, is a lockdown defender sort of thing, but it's a bit more of a short-term play given that it's probably 3 weeks max before Dawson comes back in. He could probably make over 150k in that time. Given that he can score quite consistently, where there's a lot of points in the back line. So, yeah, I think it's a decent play there. And then number 5, I had as Kyle Lohman, as this is probably the last week to grab him. Decent matchup, is now broken into that best 22 for the team. So, yeah, hopefully he can keep out 60s and push up to 450k. But that will sort of do it for the main trade out targets. Hopefully that helps you make a little bit more of a decision. But let's quickly move into what I'm doing this week in terms of my trades. So pretty simple. I think it is Massimo and McKercher being traded out. And I've traded in Graham and Zorko. So that leaves me 1k overall. Like I said, not super happy that I'm trading in Zorko, but he's going to be around that mark, and I'm happy to get him in now. Hopefully, and I'm pretty confident that he's going to continue that halfback role and be bruise free really, and hopefully he can sustain that for the year. If not, get to the mid season buys, and that's all I need him to do. So this is sort of how we're structuring up in terms of my team this week. Nothing too special. So sorry, I need a drink. So, doing a bit of looping this week, given that I have Howes and Campbell on the bye. So, I'm looking to loop Williams on just to make sure. I'm pretty confident he'll score, over 70, given the injuries to Colton. But I can't loop between Graham and Closey, unfortunately. So he's the only sort of one that is worth looping, really. And I like to just put myself under more stress than I need to, realistically. Because, yeah, I could just leave it and just play it as it is. But, yeah, I like to just do a bit extra. So, say he does terribly, then I just put Graham on the field and then, take that score instead. But I think the line will probably be 65, if not 70, I'll take. Nah, probably actually 70, given it's best 18. So, yeah, he has to do it more than a 70 for me to look that score on. Similarly, with the forward line, I will put Harvey Thomas as the E because he plays first. And then if he scores, let's just say a 60, I think the lowest score will be a bit, yeah, because, yeah, I'll say 60, and then I'll take that over a Dempsey. Just, yeah, I would love it to be a read because I could put a read there, but the time difference between these two games is only, 40 minutes or something like that. So see here, Dempsey plays here, Harley Reid plays here, so it's only 40 points difference for my time zone, or for everyone. So, yeah, that's just the way I'm thinking. Unfortunately, can't do any looping in the midfield just yet until we sort of have confirmation that Jai Clark is out. So if Jai Clark is named out, then it will be a simple, have Sanders as my emergency, see how he goes tonight, make sure he isn't subbed. If he scores well, then keep Jai Clark there. He can be a 0, and then I get Sanders score. But I'll keep that like that for now. Then Harley Reid is probably just going to be put on the bench this week, given it is a bit more of a restrictive matchup. Although it is a derby, so he could just go ballistic. Who knows? It's a tough one for sure. I probably have a bit more faith in Dempsey than I do Reid at this time. Just showing a bit more ceiling, a bit more consistency. What about anything else? Probably need to talk about some captains. So my top 5 captains this week is Zach Merritt. So stop doing that. He scored a 150 against the Crows last year, so he is a great option. Obviously, been going really well this start of the season, so he is my number 1 option. Number 2, I have Rowan Marshall. He's obviously been going great so far this season, and is a great VC option on the Thursday night tonight. So, he's great for that. He scored a 116 last year against English, but I think English was a bit more in form at that stage, and I think he could put up a pretty massive score tonight, given he's up against Darcy and English. So, he's number 2. Number 3, I had Jack Steele. I don't have Steele here. There we go. He scored a 118 against Western Bulldogs last year, and that was before he was really in form, so he could have a massive score tonight as well. If I had to choose between a Steele and a Rowan Marshall, I probably would be going a Rowan Marshall, just given that the Bulldogs midfield are probably going to fire up this week, given all the media that has been going around Bevo, and they're probably just going to, bite back a little bit and be a bit more restrictive, as we've seen in, to start early we've seen early on in this season. So, he's just been super consistent. He hasn't really shown a super high ceiling. So you want to search for that high ceiling, which we know Marshall's capable of. Number 4 is a bit of an interesting one because people are trading him out, but I think it is Jordan Dawson. So he scored a 128 against Essendon last year. Obviously a little bit of a different role, but I think this week he'll be back in that midfield quite heavily, and he will go ballistic and can score quite well. So hold faith. I think he is a good captain option if you can brave it. And number 5, I have Caleb Sarong against West Coast Eagles. Probably should have been higher in my preference, but West Coast have actually been a little bit restrictive in terms of pure midfield role. And Sarong hasn't been super great in the last couple, when it has been a bit restrictive. So he's probably more of a safe sort of 110 guy rather than that super high ceiling that we've seen in the past. But we'll have to wait and see. It's a good matchup, so he's definitely number 5. So we'll see how that goes. Some other to consider would be LDU. Not going to let me do that. Luke Davies. Obviously, he hasn't been travelling super well so far this season, but has the Hawthorn matchup. Put up a 138 against them last year, I believe. So, yeah, it could be a really good score. So, if he's on your team, which he's still in 4.5% of teams, so not many, yeah, he could be a good captain option for you if you can rely on it. Besides that, you got Connor Rosie and Zach Butters against Collingwood. They are quite an easy matchup, so that could be a good option. Probably not a huge high ceiling. I don't think they scored well against them last week. I think it was, last year. I think was mediocre, sort of mid 100s. So 105 or 106, something like that. So wasn't anything fantastic, but I think Rosie's super safe as in terms of a 110 sort of captain score if you're rolling into him. I personally don't have him. I have Butters, and I don't feel super confident about captaining Butters at this point in time. Another one to consider is a Tom Green. I know a lot of people have Tom Green. It is a tough matchup, being Carlton, but he did put up a 110 and a 109 against them last year as well, if you're looking for a safety option. I haven't considered Sheasel this week given the fin tag, so that's one I haven't put on the list. In saying that, I still think he'll put up a respectable score given that he is so hard to tag. I would say you're gonna pretty much have to stay on him the entire time. And last one is Heaney. So I think he could just, coming off a fresh week off the bye, I think he could do quite well as we have seen so far. So no real evidence to back that one up, but yeah, because we haven't seen him play this role this consistently. But yeah, I think he could go quite well and kick a few goals as well. One thing I forgot to do in my review series on Monday was that I didn't review my captains from the week. So, to date, my current captain average is 123.2. So, I think that included scores of like 125 from Merritt, 126 from Sheasel, and 149 from Marshall, and then a couple 107 and 109 from Gawn. So, yeah, it's been going pretty well. But in terms of what my average was last week, I only had the 108 average because I had Bont and Nick Martin included in my top 5. So, didn't go super well, and hopefully have a bit of a bounce back week for sure. So, but hopefully that gives you some options to go with for your captains. I'm sure most of you just listen to Calvin anyway. He always has some good advice. But I think that will sort of do it for today's video. Hopefully everyone has some time to watch this before the game. I doubt it because the game starts in an hour and a half. We have teams coming out in the next half an hour, but hopefully you've all enjoyed this. Best of luck for your team for this round. Also, announcement: I have also started a Spotify podcasting, whatever you want to call it. So I'm on Spotify now. So if you want to go for walks and you want to listen to me, then you can go over there and listen. So the link will be in my description of this video, so feel free to go over there and give it a follow, and you don't have to look at my face every single week. Yeah, hopefully you'll enjoy that. But yeah, best of luck for the week. Have a good one, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.